If you're feeling tired, if you're feeling burnt out, there's a reason why. If we were to look under the hood, just like your car, under the hood of your biology right now and look inside your inner machinery to see where all those gears are spinning, we would be able to find exactly what's happening that's causing you to potentially feel this way. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what's happening under the hood of your biology that might be contributing to why you're feeling stressed, burnt out, relying on multiple cups of coffee per day, waking up in the middle of the night, and not sure what's going on despite everything that you are trying. So what I'm going to do right now is jump into my computer, share my screen, and show you what's potentially going on for you. Let's dive in. Okay, here is why you are feeling stressed, burnt out, and you feel like you can't recover from it despite how many cups of coffee that you are consuming. So there is something in our body known as our HPA axis. And you may not have heard of it before, but what it is a system that's within our body. Just like a car, there's different systems with different gears, etc. And it controls how we downshift from stress. So we're feeling stressed, like an 8 out of 10 stress. How do we downshift into a 2 out of 10 stress? And how do we maintain those levels? Or if we're exposed to stress, how do we have resiliency to that? So the same stressful situations are happening to us. Some people are better able to adapt to those than other people. So what's happening under the hood of our biology that allows us to adapt to this? And when we're able to hack what the root cause is, then we're no longer having to manage just temporary surface level symptoms, and we can instead just have a sustained level of stress resilience for many years to come. So here's what it looks like. The HPA axis, we have two glands inside of our brain. One of them is called the hypothalamus, and the other one is called the pituitary gland. Now they send a signal to our adrenal glands, which is located right above our kidneys. And it tells our body that there is stress that's going on. I'm not going to go into all the science of all the different hormones and things like that involved, but I just want you to know it's like this triangle. Our hypothalamus, our pituitary gland inside of our brain, as well as our adrenal glands. Now, our adrenal glands produce cortisol, and cortisol is known as a stress hormone, and cortisol sometimes gets a bad rap because it's known as stress. It is good if it's used at certain times of the day. You see, if we have cortisol that's produced in the morning, that actually gives us energy and stimulation and allows us to continue throughout the day. But as we go towards nighttime, we want that cortisol to start to go down before we go to sleep. Where people run into issues is if there is a misfiring and imbalance of any of these things, if we have too much cortisol for a period of time, or even worse, if we produce too much cortisol, then over time it's like whipping a tired horse because our adrenal glands just can't keep up with the demands of the cortisol. The hypothalamus and pituitary gland are knocking on the adrenal gland's door saying, hey, we need some cortisol here. But if it produces so much, eventually it's just running, it's running on steam, and then it just can't produce as much as it looks. So with all that said, this is what it comes down to. So on this axis, we have your cortisol sum, and here's just, time, think of stress, chronic stress, and things like that. Now, in the ancestral environment, hundreds, thousands of years ago, our body would adapt to any stress that we were exposed to in that environment. For example, we were inside of our tribe, we would run away from the saber-toothed tiger, whatever that threat was, and we would come back to our village, so our cortisol would go up, let's say +1, and it would come back down. Or if it was -1, it would come back to 0. Our body, known as homeostasis, always wants to be around that 0 mark. We want to adapt. We want to be around this. Now, fast forward hundreds of thousands of years to modern day, 2024, our body has not changed since those days. However, our external environment has, and this is known as the Savannah principle. And so when we're exposed to all these modern day stressors with technology, our phone, deadlines, work, personal relationships, whatever that is, drinking copious amounts of caffeine, the list goes on. What starts to happen is our total adrenal glands are producing cortisol. And this isn't just right now, but this is just a general pattern over time. It'll start to secrete lots of cortisol where we're just baseline high cortisol. And for a lot of people, they feel good. They're really running in overdrive, but it's actually a bit of a dirty high. The reason why is because our adrenal glands are going and they're really pushing overdrive to the point where we feel good, but we tend to have a lot of crashes after. So we need this caffeine to kind of keep that up. Now we can do this for a period of time. For some people, it's months. Some people it's years. For some people, it might even be decades. It really depends on each individual stress bucket and also different genetic factors. But this might be you, this might not be you. As we start to approach sort of this stage one, I would say, of adrenal dysfunction, we start to, our adrenal glands can only produce so much, like I was saying, to the point where now our adrenal glands can only produce so much, and now it starts to decrease less and less. So now our baseline level of cortisol is starting to go more into the stage 2 or stage 3. This is known as the compensatory phase. So now our body, our adrenal glands with the HPA access, it can't adapt as well to stress as it once did. And here you see a lot of people who are drinking more cups of coffee to just to sustain that same level of energy, same level of focus, and just to get back to that baseline. And they don't feel like what they were before in this adaptation phase, and they for sure don't have the same level of overdrive energy of like up to plus 10 and then they crash. But here what they find is they're kind of decreasing their levels of energy. They're drinking more cups of coffee. Maybe they're taking other stimulants, maybe potentially pills to really help sleep, but they just can't wind down. And this is kind of that fight or flight, what happens. Later on, as we keep pushing the throttle and burning the candle from both ends, our body just can't keep up anymore. And this is where our overall cortisol sum will start to decrease. And this is for a lot of people what leads to lots of caffeine. Caffeine's not doing anything for them anymore. They start to put on weight. They start to put on fat. They start to put on a lot of different negative, bring on a lot of different negative side effects within their body. Despite whatever they do, they feel exhausted. In the morning when they wake up, they feel exhausted. They're waking up constantly throughout the middle of the night, and they can't seem to have results in their personal and professional life. And this is where things can reach a dangerous zone sometimes. For some people, it can lead to Addison's disease, which is an actual medical condition where your body can't produce enough cortisol for the body to sustain, and that's where you need injections and stuff like that. But we don't want you to be there. Instead, we want to get you to this place of adaptation. So whether you are there, whether you're not there, there's a lot that we can do. But first, instead of thinking of energy as something that we have to address on a surface level of having temporary band-aid solutions like caffeine or other stimulants, we actually have to open up the hood of your biology and look at the root cause. Where exactly is this coming from? And when we do that and we get to the root cause, then a lot of these negative symptoms on the surface level downstream don't have to express themselves. So I won't get into what exactly we do here, but I want to introduce to you this philosophy of how exactly we do it, how exactly we approach this. And within a matter of weeks and months to come, you can start feeling significantly better. If this is something that you're interested in diving deeper into, or you would like someone in your corner to help you out throughout this journey so you can get back to peak performance states or getting out of this fatigue that you feel like you're being drained by, then comment down below, reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to give you a free assessment. We'll see you in the next one.